Thanks everyone for coming today. And before we start, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're all on Aboriginal land, and I'm on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We've done quite a lot of work with DCJ behind the scenes since the last community of practice. And so apologies, I'm trying not to speak in these meetings, but I think it's really helpful for me to just give you a bit of an overview of where we're up to with everything, because we've done quite a lot of work with DCJ to try and sort out like what has been a little bit, I think, a little bit chaotic and a little bit confusing in terms of putting together a risk management plan and, in terms of responding to COVID and so on. So what we have managed to achieve, and this will be sent out via email from the Sector Development Program later today, but the first thing we have achieved is that the 8th of December deadline has now been shifted to the 22nd of December. NCOS and Homelessness New South Wales advocated quite hard around the fact that the timeframes are really, really tight and very, very difficult for everyone. So it has been extended to the 22nd of December. However, what DCJ have also said is, yes, it's the 22nd of December, but the reporting requirements will be done in mid to late January. So if you can read between the lines, that may actually give you a little bit more time even than the 22nd of December, but that's the official date. So I think that just gives everyone a couple of more weeks, particularly to get things through their board and get things finalised. So I think that's really good news. So it's really great that DCJ were responsive to our advocacy on that. The other thing that they have done is that they have engaged Jay Rebeck from Rebeck Consulting, and hopefully you are all familiar with Jay as the person who put together the COVID-19 homelessness accommodation guidelines. And so he has been contracted to provide, at this point it's still being worked out, but probably 6 workshops on how to put together your risk management plan and do this work. So you won't need to attend all 6, but I think there will be 6 available for people to attend across the NGO sector. And that work has started today, and I've got meetings with Jay tomorrow and Friday to really work out what the homelessness sector needs. And he will hopefully do the first workshop next week. That's the plan. So to really help you get started. So if we could use today for feedback around what would really assist you so that Jay can make sure he gets that right, that would be great. The thing that's brilliant about Jay being contracted is because he did the homelessness accommodation guidelines, he's really, really across COVID, the homelessness sector, and the things that need to be considered in our space, which is really great. So that's been arranged. And then the other thing that has also been put together is NCOS are really close to putting together some templates with some examples from other services for you, and that should be hopefully available on their website by the end of this week. And DCJ have also just put onto their website their examples that they put together, both a district risk management plan that they've put together and also a DCJ one as an example. And I've had a quick look at it this morning, and it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it's relatively straightforward and it looks quite useful. So that is really, really great to see. And then I want to also just give a big shout out to SASI and to CRC, who were very, very generous last week and shared a lot of information, but they've also sent through their survey templates, their some of the communication resources that they put together for staff, and some examples around some of the planning as well. And that is all available on our website now in the COVID resources section. So that is also great. And then the other big news is that DCJ rang me this morning, and they've actually provided us with some funding to support the sector in doing this work. And we need to spend this money quite quickly, so by the end of January. And so in very, very quick discussions internally this morning, we've agreed that probably the best thing that we can do is provide everyone with a grant. Basically, the small orgs, like we normally do, those orgs that are considered small in the sector, provide you with a $1,500 grant to basically use consultants or provide additional staff hours to help you do this work. And so we're looking at putting that together rapidly and hopefully getting the information and process for all of that out next week, so that you can already really, if you know someone who might be available to do this work with you or for you, that you can get started on that as well. So that's the update from me in terms of the work that we have done in following the feedback we got last week. So I just wanted to provide that overview. We will obviously communicate all this via email as well to you all once it's all coalesced into a form that's understandable. And it has really actually emerged today. It's literally been all sorted out today. So yeah, really interested in people's views on whether or not this will all assist, and what in particular you would really like to see, I guess, from Rebet Consulting. We discussed masterclasses last week, and everyone pretty much said that they would like, something on the whole process. So I'm happy to feed that back to Jay. But I think the feedback that I've also heard up to this point too is that it needs to be really concrete and practical, so that people aren't attending yet another webinar hearing about what they can do, but actually using that time to do as well, so to get that stuff and that work done. Yeah, so are there any questions or comments about any of the information I've just provided to you in the chat? Thanks, Di. I should have looked at the chat about that. Yeah. So Lucia, who's with us today because Claire's on leave, has just put some of the links in the chat as well, so that you can access that. What I might do to just see if we can do a little bit of it. We might use the function. Can we just use a show of hands to just know, would you use, if you got a $1,500 grant, would you use that money? Would that be useful in terms of helping you get this work done? Yep. Okay, cool. All right. That's really good to know, because we just wanted to make sure that it was the best, that we were able to support you as quickly and as effectively as possible. And in terms of, what would help you, we felt that just giving you money would help. But also the very good point from the chat from Karen, we will also put a list together of people that might be available to do this work if you need it as well. So, we've gotten some suggestions from people over the last week, but yeah, we'll also put a list together of people who might be available to help you with that work as well. Di, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Just a quick one, Catherine. You mentioned that $1,500 for small organisations to do the work. Is that available to the larger organisations as well?
We've got a limited amount, so we thought we would go with what we usually do, which is that we do provide it to those. And Luch, you might need to jump in. I think what's the maximum revenue that we usually go with, Luch?
If you've got under 5 mil funding, annually?
I think under 5 million a year, you'll be eligible. Yeah, so I think on our rough maths, we thought, we can probably assist maybe, I don't know, about 30 orgs with that money. So it's not that much money. So just want to, and we'll see how it goes. And if it's not used, obviously we can extend it out and so on. But we were basically, just using what we usually do for the industry partnership in terms of providing access. Yep. Are there any other questions or comments about any of that? No, everyone's quiet. But it sounds good. Like, I mean, what we're hoping is by next Wednesday, it'll be we'll have really clear information around what's available, how to access it, and you can really get started. Plus you have those extra weeks now to get it done. You don't need to have it done by the 8th of December. So that just makes a huge difference, I think, as well. Steve and or Cassandra and or Maria, who are here from DCJ, do you have anything that you might want, do you want to add anything to that?
Thanks, Catherine. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Stephen Dreve. I'm one of the managers in housing, homelessness and disability. I'm not sure there's a whole lot more to add after the introduction. There are more resources that will be posted on the web page where the risk assessment tool Catherine mentioned is posted, and I'll drop the web link into the chat if you like, so you can find that. Appreciate there's been a flurry of information coming out to you, so we'll post that link so that you can identify it easily. But I think the key takeaway is that there'll be more support documents posted to that web page. So if you probably worth sort of saving it to a favourite somewhere so that you can have easy access to it if you find that information is helpful. That's probably the main thing, Catherine. I think you've covered off on all the other things. That training's coming, there'll be checklists, there'll be guidance material prepared. So hopefully that positions everyone well to be able to undertake the planning work.
Great, thanks, Stephen. There was another email that went out from your team this morning. Do you want to briefly go over that too?
It actually, you're referring to the updated
Yeah.
guidelines. Yeah,
Yeah.
it went out from Deanne's team, and unfortunately Deanne's on leave this week. But there are some updates to the guidelines. Not anything overly significant. We have adjusted the process for EA, the emergency accommodation funding and the workforce contingency funding and other additional payments. So some of that's been reflected in the document, if you've not had a chance to look at it. There's also a whole bunch of other changes that have occurred reflecting the shift in the public health orders. So as you know, the locations of concern have been lifted, so that all that language has been stripped out of the guidelines, so that it's more current. There was an email that was sent out to everyone, I think only a couple of hours ago, so it steps out all the sort of key changes in that document. And if there are sort of any questions or concerns about that, we can talk in more detail, I suppose, about that next week once everyone's had an opportunity to look at the updated version, if that's helpful.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry, just letting you know, Steve, I'm here from Deanne's team.
See it. Sorry, so many faces, and you
Good.
can't actually see people. There's some multiple pages.
Yeah, no, good overview though. There's and there's just a few more additional links, you know, that link to new information and new tools, like the personal protective equipment, PPE, quick reference guide. We've developed a list of different links to different types of PPE related information. We've done up some checklists, so they had gone out previously, and there's also links available from the guidelines for that. And yet, just referencing new policies such as the new COVID management plan and vaccination policy. So, yeah, if anyone does have any questions, yeah, just get back to us later.
Great, thanks so much, and thanks for doing that work so quickly too, considering the changes they keep rolling out. So it's great that you guys managed to get that done quickly, so thank you. So on that, so that's kind of an overview from us. Do people have sort of questions and questions or issues they'd like to raise that they'd like to put to the group? Are there things that people would like to talk to us all about? Oh, I forgot to mention rapid antigen testing. I should probably just provide you an update with that. So I attended the DCJ meeting around rapid antigen testing on Monday. The feedback provided from across the peaks was that, yes, rapid antigen testing would be really useful as a way of screening clients in particular and supporting clients who may not be vaxxed. However, it's quite expensive, and so there would need to be consideration of that. The feedback at this point from DCJ is that there isn't additional funding. There is not additional funding available for rapid antigen testing. And so it would be up to the organisation at this point to cover that cost. And they're looking at putting together a framework that hopefully will go out, I think, in the next week around guidance around use of rapid antigen testing in services, but it is still really linked to making sure to having a health practitioner do that, in which case that you probably would be looking at a pharmacist or a pharmacy, or if there was a hub set up in your area using those. So that's really where that's at. I think the biggest issue will be the fact that they are still relatively expensive. But yeah, so they heard the message, I think, that it was positive in terms of people are keen to use that as a way of supporting clients. But yes, it's the cost and access via health practitioner does mean that it would probably need to be done via the local pharmacy, or if DCJ is looking at putting hubs together, which they were looking at a couple of months ago. I'm not sure if they're still considering that because their own staff may need to use them as well. So yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that. Di, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Just to make people aware, I don't know, Catherine, whether you know, but there's a pilot being rolled out in the Albury schools with rapid antigen testing as a surveillance measure. So I think it starts as from tomorrow. They're encouraging parents to test the primary and secondary school kids every 3 days or something. And then if there is a non-negative test, to go and get a proper COVID test. So I put it back to our CPO to see whether, given the situation in Albury, whether we can't get hold of some of those rapid antigen tests. We believe they've been flying off the shelves down here. They went on the market in Coles and Woolworths Monday, and yeah, they're gone. So
yeah, I mean, we did
that is
raise
fine.
too that the issue is mainly for rural and regional areas where it's hard to get the surveillance testing done and the results are slow. So rapid antigen testing would really assist rural and regional areas. I think DCJ certainly took that on board. So I think we just maybe need to wait and see with what they come up with, but I'll continue to raise that, absolutely, Di, and yeah, we'll see where we get with it. Does anyone else have any comments or questions around any of that? Does anyone have any other questions or issues that they'd like to share with the group or comment on in terms of this work or any work? Stephen, one thing we were going to look on was, you know, people who have vaccination exemption, and what the policy was around that. Were you able to get feedback on that?
It's been escalated to the pandemic team, but we haven't had a response yet. We'll get back to you as soon as we're here. We can follow up again after this.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah. So, yep. So that was the other thing that was an action from last week. So thanks, Stephen, for following that one. Wait to hear from the COVID team around advice on that one. Okay, one more last call out before I start making you talk about all sorts of different things. Who would like to share? Who would like to share some positive work that they've done during this lockdown period, and some of the successes of their team or working with clients? Because I mean, one thing I think I'm just been slowly leaving my house and meeting up with some various different people that I've seen on Zoom or on the phone constantly over the past couple of months, and just reflecting on the huge achievements of the sector and the work that we've all done, which has been immense in terms of supporting people both when they test positive, but also keeping people healthy and well. And I don't think as a sector we acknowledge really well enough the work that we do. So if there's someone who would like to share some of the good work that they've done that they're really proud of in the last couple of months, that would be great. And we have Caroline. Go for it.
Hello, people. I just wanted to mention the food relief that we've been coordinating through the Women's Shelter in Armidale. We were contacted by one of the local Aboriginal groups, the Anawan Women's Group. We're very concerned about their elders. We only had a very brief lockdown compared with some of your people in other areas, but nonetheless, it was evidently felt very deeply by the Aboriginal elders, especially the women who were relatively isolated. So we joined forces with a local group which supports the shelter through our local Anglican church called St. Mark's Embrace, and donations that we raised just with other people in the community to put together not just food packs, although we did provide some food, but activities and care packs. It has now morphed into a program that the Anawan Women's Council are going to be running, which is We're Lucky to Have You, which is ongoing support for the elders. And we've been providing, helping coordinate food relief, although we haven't been financing all the food, for a regular weekly food drop to them. Because at the moment, COVID is fairly confined to the active cases are actually Aboriginal community in Armidale rather than in the general community. And that's sort of starting to bleed out into a more joined up discussion about how can we streamline food relief in Armidale, which is very different than it is in the bigger cities, although I'm sure many of you folk from the smaller country areas will understand that you just sort of have tears in your eyes when you realise what's available for food relief in the cities. That's all.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing that, Carolyn. Really appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to share some of the work that they've done? Linda.
Yes, sorry. I was going to say, no, I've got my hand up.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Go for it.
That's okay. So I just wanted to share a couple of things actually with you guys out there. So probably three things. So one is we have just come out of COVID lockdown for our Women's and Children's Refuge. Yay. So it has been an incredibly trying last couple of weeks, having had a positive resident. So that's, I'm very, very grateful that we watched the webinar in Western Sydney, and that gave us a lot of hints and a lot of tips on how to manage our own crisis here in a rural area. The second thing that been a really big achievement for my particular team is through all of the COVID lockdowns and all of the bits and pieces, not directly housing homelessness related, but more in the domestic violence space, we opened up a second Women's and Children's Refuge here in Tamworth today.
Wow.
So that's awesome. So we've now got another 3 rooms, and we've actually, instead of it being purpose-built, it's actually a purpose-designed residential home. And then the next thing that I will share with you guys, because I'm sure I'll be talking to a lot of you around the area soon, and I'm pretty sure I can mention this, is I am about to myself personally undertake the Train the Trainer for the Housing First model with Homelessness Australia.
Congratulations. That's great that you're doing that. It's great to have more involvement on that. And yeah, we're working towards hopefully fully funded Housing First across Australia, which is why we're training everyone up so that when that happens, you're all good to go and really across how to do it. So yeah, great. Thanks for that update, Linda. It's really, I'm glad that you got through the isolation and lockdown period that you had because of a positive case, and really great news about the DV refuge expansion, and great to have you on board around Housing First Train the Trainer. It's excellent.
Sure. I'm from Port Stephens Family and Neighbourhood Services, and I'm the team leader for the Specialist Homelessness Service within that organisation. And we service the Port Stephens area, which is just north of Newcastle. And I just wanted to share that we have just gone through the ACES accreditation. We got 97% after our first review. And we've updated the outstanding matters, and now our review's been sent off for final approval and hopefully accreditation.
That's great news.
Yay.
Yeah, well
really
done. That's fantastic. Congratulations. And yes, we can all think about ACES next year, and Lauren and Lucia can focus on their core work, which is to support you all during ACES. And we will be using successfully accredited people as mentors and supports for everyone else as well. So, but that's really good news and a huge achievement considering what this year has been as well. So well done.
Oh yeah, just chuck it in the mix. We just thought, well, let's just get it over with.
That's
just do it.
Great news. Congratulations.
Thanks heaps.
Talking a lot today. Perhaps not something that we've recently achieved, but I think we've, picking up on Anne, we've sort of looked at the ACES and picked that up and thought this might be a really good opportunity while we are sort of feeling like we're not seeing the outcomes that we normally do in terms of not being able to exit people from our services because of lack of housing. We're sort of thinking that the work on ACES might give people, our staff, the opportunity to see that they can achieve something. So there's a bit of a renewed energy in the organisation to get ourselves a bit more involved in the ACES stuff. So something to look forward to, I hope.
Yeah, that is actually a really good segue, because one of the things I thought it might be useful to discuss is just the burnout and exhaustion that everyone's feeling. And if anyone has any good suggestions or tips or ideas or thoughts around how to re-energize us all, apart from taking leave, which has got to happen, in terms of how we approach next year, given the fact I was talking to some colleagues from the inner city yesterday, that really this all kicked off with the bushfires way back in 2019, and we haven't stopped. And one of the things that I think everyone's a little bit worried about is just the exhaustion levels. So does anyone have any ideas or suggestions or things that they're doing with their staff to manage exhaustion?
Hi, everybody. So I'm the General Manager at DV West, and one of the things that we've done was put in for an award for our leadership team. It was to do with the pandemic and the rapid, amazing response that happened last year. So, because we did manage to actually write, Professor Dr. Leslie Lang actually wrote a report for us around how we were able to kind of manoeuvre our service delivery during that pandemic, and we put in for an award. And with the Brighter Spark Awards and Women's Legal Services and the events on tomorrow night. So that's lifting spirits because, you know, obviously the pandemic has continued, and it's sort of just, it's, you know, people are still tired and wanting to get to the end of the year, but it's been good timing for the team. And it's not just the leadership team, it's kind of the whole organisation, because everybody, it's really acknowledging everybody's efforts. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that to brag a little bit, but also just as a suggestion, because it has buoyed people up a bit. So yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations to the team and for the work on that. But also, yes, that is a great suggestion. And one thing for all of you to keep in mind is that the sector awards will be happening next year. We are not going to have our conference in February, March like we normally do, but we thought we'd have it in like probably September, October next year, and we will have the awards again. So it'd be good to think about how you can acknowledge the great work of your teams and your service in that awards process as well. Vicky, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. I guess, you know, sharing good news stories is really nice. So thanks for that, Joanne. I really like to hear that. It's wonderful. But I guess from our perspective here, in terms of looking after our staff, we're in a bit of backs against the wall at the moment, because going through that COVID space, it was all hands on deck and it was just full on. Now we're coming out of the COVID space. Staff are sort of starting to breathe a sigh of relief, but the problem is the pressure is on even more, I guess, now for our service, because we've got so many people coming out of TA. We've got 100 people currently in TA on the Central Coast who will be coming out looking for a service. So I've got a couple of people that I've just sort of said, you just need to go and have a break. But that leaves us short-staffed, and yeah, so we're really struggling in this space at the moment because, you know, we just don't have the properties for these people, and it's the same across, I guess, for everybody. But there's just been no reprieve for the staff here in this space.
Yeah, and Vicky, completely hear what you're saying about the number of people in TA. In every district, there's at least 140 households waiting for some form of longer term housing from hotel and motel accommodation. And we wrote to all ministers involved suggesting that it would be good to get together and look at some options. We've continued to have conversations with Minister Henskens about this, but the reality is we are going to have to prepare for a surge in demand, because there literally isn't any, even with a rental subsidy, even with Together Home, there isn't the private rental available, and there's no social housing limited social housing, as we know. So yes, how you prepare staff for a surge in demand when we've worked so incredibly hard over the past couple of years is going to be challenging. So acknowledging that, does anyone have any like thoughts around how they might manage that, which I know is tough?
Make a last comment.
Yeah, go for it, Vicky.
Catherine, is there was some funds through DCJ that they were offering, you know, to support where we had people off with COVID and that sort of thing. And I actually approached our CPO thinking, well, it's to do with COVID that we've got not a lot of staff on at the moment because they're having breaks, and without the breaks, we need additional staff for a period of time to be able to manage this surge of people that are going to come through, because the burnout rate for the teams is just, we've got someone on stress leave now, and it's just sort of, I can just feel it just growing. So when I put that proposal to DCJ, it was knocked back. But I would think if they do still have the money there, the funds to support services who are working in this space, that they could extend it to perhaps having some temporary staff come on to manage those people just coming, because we have a hub. So we're not in an office, so people are coming through the doors all the time, all day. And we just cannot manage that in terms of our current staffing.
Yep, I'm happy to take that up at a central level too, around staffing. We've had lots of conversations of funding around staff surging, particularly when staff have had to isolate and needing additional staff. So I'll have that conversation. And the Social Sector Support Fund funding is also supposed to be for staffing. So if you're eligible for that, it will be good to look at using some of that for additional staff as well, but happy to continue to advocate on that.
I'm interested. I started having conversations
with local councillors and other organisations that are involved in innovative housing solutions to try and figure out if there are local government solutions or opportunities to capitalise, especially with the new housing funding that's coming out through community housing. And so I was just wondering if anyone has any case studies or knowledge of things that have been done at a local government level in other areas that I could hear about.
Yeah, if people have stuff they could share, that would be great, actually, because we've also been talking to the state government about involving local government for some of these solutions. And if you do have suggestions of things that could be done rapidly, it would be great to hear from you, because we can use those to continue the conversation.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, my video's off at the moment. We've just found that the demand for people needing housing and crisis accommodation since the lockdown ended and restrictions eased has just gone. I don't want to overuse the word unprecedented, but it's really stretching our resources. We don't have vacancies. We're trying to use hotels, but then we, like everyone else, have a fatigued case management and support team. So we've got people on leave, and if we can accommodate someone, sometimes we can't do the case management. And I just think I'm not sure if other services are feeling it. I know I've had a conversation with DV West, and they're, really feeling it as well. So it's, I'm one concerned, and I just feel so much compassion for what they've been through, being locked in, and now with the opportunity to leave. But I think that it's going to be really challenging over the Christmas period, particularly for the specialist domestic and family violence services. I just wanted to mention that and wish everyone the best through this period.
Yeah, thanks, Petra. And I think that's a really good point about Christmas and the typical increase in clients around Christmas time, and especially after Christmas with domestic and family violence as well. Just to ask, one of the challenges we've had with staff even needing to isolate, one of the challenges was really being able to identify alternative staff in any case. So I don't know if anyone's got some brilliant solutions to identifying temporary staff that could be put on whilst other staff rest. We'd love to hear from you about that, just in terms of thinking that through too. So feel free to put things in the chat if you want to comment about that. But does anyone else want to comment on what Petra's just said around that? No, other than to acknowledge that it's a big problem and that we're going to have to deal with it. All right, Peter, I might ask you to comment.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. I think I was just going to add on to those comments around the real surge in demand that we're all seeing at the moment, where our crisis services are at about 185% capacity at the moment across both our crisis service and the hotels. I think that workforce fatigue is a real issue. And I kind of wanted to share what we've been looking at in terms of that, because we've had, a focus that's only been 1 or 2 days in advance for so long, thinking about COVID, and we're now starting to transition to say what the world looks like in 3, 6, 12 months time as we start to open up again. And on top of obviously staged leave, we've been looking at how we really invest back into our workforce and our staff. So we've been starting to have a lot of conversations around, what do they want to do themselves? How do they want to grow and develop into the future? And we've actually been going back to the industry partnership workforce development plan that was built a couple of years ago. So staff can repivot their skill sets and their skill set development that they've had for so long, and kind of look at where they want to invest into the future, where they want to go with their careers, so they can start to think about themselves and start to give back to themselves. And it's been quite a nice thing for us, because our staff have really been able to go, actually, no, this is where I want to go. And I've been thinking about other people for so long, and now I can start to think about myself. So it's been quite nice for us.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion to look at, what staff might need to look at themselves and their own career development and where they might want to head. That's excellent. Thanks, Peter. Are there any other suggestions or things that people have been thinking about doing to help manage the staff exhaustion? Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Di.
Just following on from Peter, we've sort of taken a similar approach. We've invested quite heavily recently in rolling out some, how do we keep our workforce engaged? How do we keep them sustained? And as a result of, some surveys we did with staff, we've now introduced things like long service leave available after 7 years as compared to 10, paid parental leave for both, equal in amount for both parents in the situation. We've put in 5 days worth of wellbeing leave and encouraging people, if they need a mental health day, it's okay. And I think, and there's sort of a few other little perks that don't necessarily have to have a big cost impact, but they've just been really, really appreciated. I think it's just given everyone a bit of a boost. We also, we signed up to one of those Cameo things. I don't know whether anybody has seen them, but we had a fake Obama make the presidential announcement in video form of all of the new stuff, which just went down a real treat. It was a laugh, and it was also, announcing. I'd be happy to send that link around.
That would be great, Di. That's hilarious. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. We've also given everyone an extra wellbeing week as well, just as a way of helping people manage, because it's very easy, particularly if, we didn't do face-to-face work. Obviously, we were at home, and it's very easy to work all the time, even when you've got kids, and you don't really recognize how much extra work you're doing. So we've done that as well. And there's some other suggestions in the chat too. The suggestion around training up admin staff or corporate staff to pick up some of the work is a really good one, I think too. And wellbeing, well, that's funny, sorry. The wellbeing leave and the team building, that's great. Is there anything else people would like to add? Shania, are you wanting to talk to us all about something, or was that an accidental unmuting?
It was an accident.
That's okay. No worries. All right. Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh, went whale watching. Gillian, do you want to talk about that? That sounds good. Are you there? You may not be.
Hi. Yeah, we went whale watching. It was really good fun. We introduced a wellbeing fund so that everybody gets just a little small amount of money per person per year, and they can spend it on something that makes them feel good and keep going at work. So it's about $300, and they can have massages or go to Pilates classes and things like that. But the whale watching was very, very popular. And we've got a great photo for our annual report now.
Excellent.
Yeah. We were lucky this year because we got a grant to help with a refurbish build on the refuge. And so that was really, really nice to know that we are going to be able to provide better accommodation with more toilets to get through COVID next year. And we got through ACES just at the beginning of the year. So we're only a tiny team, so that was really something for all the team to be proud of as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Gillian. That was a really good overview. And yes, congratulations on ACES. That was earlier at the beginning of this year, I remember. So that's really great. And I think too, it's good to keep in mind that we did get quite an incredible announcement around domestic and family violence, which will make a huge difference to domestic and family violence services over the next 4 years. And so we've got some, there will be positive things for clients going forward. It's just we need to kind of keep that in mind as the demand kind of hits us as the restrictions ease. Is there anything else? Oh, go, Gillian.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
We're still pushing hard for DV leave for workers. And in fact, DV leave is not a given in the workplace. People are getting 10 days unpaid leave, and so I think that DV leave in our sector, not all of our organisations have it yet, and I just want to keep on pushing that we need to put our money where our mouth is as far as domestic violence goes.
Thank you, Gillian. Yes, that's an incredibly yeah, it's a very good point. There's been a lot of activism from people within the sector around the importance of DV leave. And so, yes, we should model behaviour and actually lead in that space. So I agree we should encourage people to look at that where they can. Any other suggestions around managing, you know, the wellbeing stuff and or the managing the surge in demand? I mean, we experienced it last year. I think we were just all a little bit in shock about it. And we also experienced, I guess, the move of people from cities to the regional areas. And I'm not sure if we got any learnings from that other than that there's not enough social housing and housing is unaffordable in many more areas than it was previously, and there's really limited rentals. There's anything people have been doing that they'd like to share around trying to manage that and manage the frustration that people can have in terms of not being able to support clients to get the outcomes that they need?
We've had some success just working with real estate agents in terms of I think there's one real estate agent that, you know, the clients had mentioned to him that had she known that she was going to be homeless, she wouldn't have left her violent partner, which really sort of raised him into action, if you like, and he pulled all stops out to find something for her and led a bit of a media campaign around the lack of affordable housing as well. The other good thing that well, lucky to have happened was a local large disability service approached us. They had, resulting from that media campaign, they had a residential property, quite a large group home, resi home, that had been sitting vacant for a period of time. So they were able to offer a short-term lease to one of our DV clients who's now enrolled in social work and has found a private rental and moving on. So that was a really nice outcome that I just shared.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Vicky.
Yeah, so we had the Shadow Minister for Housing, Jason Clare, come here on Friday, which was a really good opportunity for him to sort of have a look and see and get his teeth in to see what's happening here locally in terms of cost of housing, rent, so forth. That came about from Emma McBride, who is our local MP that was invited to our homeless interagency, which Uniting hosts with over about 60 participants. So from that, sort of, we had that snowball effect of her talking with Jason, and he came up and we had a bit of media coverage and, you know, streamed through Facebook Live. So, you know, I mean, it's if we don't sort of try and attack or not attack or approach at that level, it's not going to happen overnight, obviously. But, you know, while we just keep chipping away and putting in things, Band-Aid, little things to help people get by from day to day, and that's your job there, Catherine, obviously, and you guys do a good job at that, tackle at the big boys at the top. So anyway, that was our attempt to get some attention, and we got a little bit, so that was a good thing.
No, you did. I saw it, definitely saw it. It was good to see, yeah, just to see the attention placed on and the, you know, the impact in the Central Coast has been huge over the past 12 plus months. So great that you did that work. And yes, as you say, we are chipping away as much as we can to try and get systemic change. And there is opportunities coming up in the next 12 months with the federal election, and then eventually in March 2023, the state election. And I think with all the changes at the state level in terms of ministers and premiers, there's opportunity to try and have those conversations that you may be having had with local members for many, many years. There is some opportunity now to really talk about it. We met with Minister Pavey a couple of weeks ago, and she is well aware of the issues, particularly in regional areas. And so they are now very aware of the issue. What we need to help them do is get to the solution, which is investing in social housing and really tackling the fact that there is really a real lack of affordable private rental across New South Wales. So yeah, if we can keep working on that, that would be great. But there is more opportunity at the moment for those conversations than there have been for a little while as well. So that is good. We've got about 8 minutes, maybe 5 minutes left. Is there anything people would like to say? And then I might just summarize what I said at the beginning for those of you who might have joined late, just so that you're all clear on what's happened in the last week in terms of supporting you around risk management planning.
I thought I might just let everyone know about our little GP service that we set up about a month ago.
It's a great idea.
Working away really nicely. So we set up a GP service specifically for the needs of people experiencing homelessness. As a little pilot program, we've got a big clinic opening up at Central next year. And we're already at one full half day of consultations already in the first week. Oh, in the first month, sorry. And some of the housing outcomes that we've already been able to support and facilitate have been amazing. So being able to put in proper care plans and doing the housing assessment forms for DCJ in a really fast-tracked, coordinated way with the case management teams through Medicare has been really, really exciting. So yeah, wanted to share that. Yeah, it's going really well. So very excited by it and very excited about where it's going to go from here.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Peter. Yes, it's been a huge amount of work over quite a long period of time. So congratulations on getting it up and running and to see that it's working so well so early on. That's fantastic news. So congratulations. I might just, because we all do so many Zooms, I might just summarize now what I said at the beginning and just talk about what we might do next week in terms of the community practice. So just to summarize, your risk management plans now DCJ will get an email out later today, maybe after 5 as per usual, but saying that the deadline has been extended from the 8th of December to the 22nd of December for the risk management planning work to be completed. They will be checking that you have done that work in January, however, so read between the lines as much as you want to in that sense. They have contracted Jay Rebeck, who did our homelessness accommodation guidelines, to do some workshops with the sector to do the work, to do your risk management planning, and that work kicked off today with a view to trying to get stuff started next week. And I will talk to Jay when I meet with him tomorrow about whether or not he can attend next week's community practice potentially to do some of that work. So I will talk to him about that and get back to you about it. We have received a small amount of, some funding from DCJ to support the sector. And so we're looking at getting $1,500 grants out to you guys so that you can contract a consultant and or give staff extra hours to do some of this risk management planning. We will aim to have the information out about that by mid next week, so next Wednesday hopefully, and it should be relatively straightforward for you to complete. So no project plans, nothing like that, but just a process that we can acquit it properly, and so you can as well. And then DCJ will have on their website, if not today, probably tomorrow, but definitely by the end of the week, some example templates and some more resources. And they already have the DCJ ones that are up there on the website. So it's good to have a look at those just to see how they did the risk management planning in terms of stages and so on. So I would recommend that you look at those. And again, we are very grateful to SASI and CRC in particular for sharing their resources, and they are on our website if you want to have a look at a staff survey that they've put together, some staff comms they put together, et cetera. And then we will follow up around the people with vaccination exemption and how to manage that, and also the rapid antigen testing as well in the next week to hopefully get you some guidance around that. And that is hopefully a good summary. So we will send all that out via email to you all as well. And hopefully by next Wednesday, it'll be so clear what you need to do. You'll have enough time. You'll have a little bit of resource to help doing that. And you'll be feeling much less stressed about this entire process, which has been, I know, very confusing and stressful. And then I just want to note that in the chat, there's some more good news stories. Anne, do you want to speak to that quickly? We've got a few minutes. The medication program for homeless people?
Yeah, I'm not sure if many people know about this. One of our local pharmacists put us onto this program. So it's administered by the federal government, and it enables people that are homeless to have their prescriptions filled for free. So for people that can't access it, say, for example, through the Closing the Gap program or any other type of, Veterans Affairs, those sorts of programs, they can access their medications through this homeless person's medication program. So I just put the name of the program on the, I could email it to you maybe, Catherine,
yeah, sure.
just the information sheet, and maybe you could share it around.
Sure.
And yeah, if you can go into partnership with a local pharmacist, it might be something worthwhile pursuing. It's really helped with a lot of our clients, just in terms of them being able to sustain, the management of their symptoms around, diabetes or their mental illness and things like that. So often they choose not to purchase their medications because they have so many other competing expenses. And so medication falls off the list very quickly. So this is just one way to help people keep healthy and well.
Thank you so much, Anne, for that. And yes, be happy to send it around.
Okay, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, thanks. So on that, I think it's 2 minutes to go. So we'll do a bit more work on all that work so that you can do the work on risk management planning, and I'll get information out to you as soon as I can once it's all more concrete, but it'll be in the next day or so. So thanks so much for attending. And as I said, I'll have a chat to Jay Rebeck and see if he can come to the next week's and we can turn it into a practical piece of work, but I'll let you know and of course email you out the information around what will be happening for next week's community practice as it gets developed. So have a great week, and hopefully see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.